After working a double shift and missing my birthday dinner, I came home to a cake smashed in the trash and my sister recording a TikTok saying, "This is what happens when you choose work over family." I thought it was a joke. Then I noticed my bedroom door had been forced open. My niece had taken my laptop, and my brother said, "She's young, don't be dramatic." When I called the police, my mother yelled, "You're going to ruin her life over a gadget?" The next morning, they all blocked me. For months later, that same niece tried to use my name to apply for a job, and I got the call instead. I don't even know where to start. I guess I'll start with the night everything broke for good. I work in healthcare. Not a doctor, not a nurse, but still a job that demands your time like a vampire demands blood. That night, I was working a double shift at the hospital in Tucson, Arizona. I hadn't even planned it. A coworker called out last minute, and if no one picked it up, the patients would suffer. So I stayed. I stayed even though it was my birthday and my family had planned a dinner at some mid-range steakhouse. Nothing fancy, but it mattered to me. I had been looking forward to it for weeks. I texted my mom and my sister around 2 p.m. letting them know I'd be late and maybe we could just move it to the weekend. No reply. I figured they were mad. I figured I'd smooth it over later. Work was brutal that night. A code blue here, an angry family member there, and by the time I clocked out, my legs were jelly and my brain felt like it was stuffed with wet cotton. I got to my apartment just after midnight. I share a duplex owned by my uncle. He gave me a break on rent, knowing how hard I work. When I walked in, the first thing I saw was the trash can tipped over in the kitchen. Inside was the birthday cake I had bought myself. A whole double chocolate cake smashed face down into old coffee grounds and banana peels. I just stood there for a second, blinking like an idiot. My heart sank. I wasn't even angry yet. Just confused and tired and sad, I guess. That's when I heard giggling. From the living room. I walked in and there's my sister, Brianna, holding up her phone, recording herself. My niece, Ashley, was in the background laughing her ass off. Brianna says into the camera, all smug, "This is what happens when you choose work over family, folks." They were making a TikTok out of it. Like it was some hilarious prank. I forced a smile and said, "Ha, okay, you got me." I honestly thought it was just a stupid joke, that maybe they'd bought a second cake or something. I didn't want to pick a fight. I was too exhausted. But then I turned to go to my bedroom and immediately saw the door. The latch was broken. Forced open. I pushed it and saw my room had been ransacked. Drawers open. Closet messed up. Laptop gone. I turned around slowly and said, "Where is my laptop?" Ashley shrugged, giggling like she was drunk even though she's only 19. My brother, Adam, was sitting on the couch with a beer in his hand. He didn't even look up from his phone. He just muttered, "She's young, don't be dramatic." Something snapped inside me. I wasn't being dramatic. That laptop had my entire life on it. School records, tax stuff, medical certifications, everything. It wasn't just a toy. It wasn't a game. I said, "Give it back or I'm calling the police." My mom, who had been watching this whole thing like she was watching a soap opera, stood up and screamed at me, "You're going to ruin her life over a gadget." I looked at her, stunned. She had that look I hadn't seen since I was a teenager. That look that said I was the bad guy, that everything was always my fault if it made things uncomfortable for everyone else. I called the police anyway. Ashley started fake crying. My sister was recording me now, yelling, "Look how crazy she's acting." My brother shook his head like he was embarrassed for me. My mom kept trying to grab the phone out of my hand. The cops showed up. I told them what happened. They weren't interested in making arrests, obviously, but they made Ashley give me back the laptop. It was sticky and had a crack in the corner now. Awesome. I filed a report. I made it clear I didn't want to press charges, I just needed it documented. I wasn't stupid. I knew the family would twist the story the second I left the room. Sure enough, by the next morning, they had all blocked me. On everything. Phone, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. I became a ghost overnight. No texts. No apologies. Nothing. 4 months went by. I didn't reach out. They didn't either. I focused on work. I even started dating again. I figured maybe it was better this way. Maybe the distance would be good. Then, one afternoon while I was at work, I got a call from a place called Sun Valley Pediatrics. Some HR lady asked if I could come in for a second interview. I was confused. I hadn't applied there. She said, "We have your resume here, applications under the name Ashley, my last name. The contact info matches yours." My stomach dropped. I asked her to email me the application. Sure enough, it was my niece. She had put my name, my address, and her own phone number. But she hadn't thought it through. When they tried to verify, they found me instead. I stared at the email for a long time. I felt something cold settle into my bones. This wasn't just some dumb teenager mistake. This was deliberate. Identity fraud, plain and simple. All those months, I thought they would reach out, apologize maybe. I thought time would heal it. Instead, Ashley had been trying to steal my identity for a job, and probably would have blamed me if it blew up. And now, holding that email, something in me hardened. They made their choice the night they smashed my cake and laughed about it. They made their choice when they called me dramatic for wanting my own property back. They made their choice when they blocked me instead of saying sorry. I made a decision that day too. I sat in my car after work that night, staring at the glow of the email on my phone. Part of me wanted to scream. Another part wanted to laugh. After everything they had done, Ashley still thought she could take from me. Still thought there would be no consequences. I thought about deleting the email. Thought about pretending I never saw it. But that same cold feeling from before was still there, like a stone in my chest. No. Not this time. I printed everything out, the application, the email thread, the caller ID log from my phone. I made copies. I spent the weekend reading about identity theft laws in Arizona. I learned it didn't take much to make a case if you had proof. And guess what? I had plenty. By Monday, I filed a formal complaint with the police. This wasn't just about the job application. It was about the pattern. The forced entry into my room. The theft. The attempt to use my name without permission. Once the report was in, things moved fast. Faster than I thought they would. A detective actually called me within a week, asking me to come down and give a statement. I did. Calmly. Clearly. With every bit of proof laid out like a neat little trap. Meanwhile, I stayed quiet online. I didn't post. I didn't rant. I didn't even breathe a word of it to anyone mutual. I wanted them to think they got away with it. 2 weeks later, Ashley got a call. A detective wanted to meet with her. And that's when the storm hit. I woke up to my phone buzzing non-stop. Voicemails, unknown numbers, even some blocked ones. First it was my sister Brianna, screaming in a voicemail about how I was ruining a young girl's life over nothing. Then my mom, crying like she had at a funeral. Then Adam, sending threatening texts like he was some mobster. They weren't sorry. They weren't scared that Ashley had committed a crime. They were furious that someone had dared to stand up to them. I ignored every call. Every text. Let them stew in it. The next twist came when I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten, messy. It was from my mom. 6 pages long. Crying about how family sticks together, how we all make mistakes, how this world is cruel enough without us turning on each other. No apology. Just guilt. And then, halfway through the letter, a line that made me sit down: "If you don't drop this, we'll tell everyone what you did when you were 17. My blood went cold. They were threatening me. When I was 17, I had a stupid teenage mistake on my record. A fight at school. Some minor vandalism. I had done my community service, sealed my record, moved on. Barely anyone knew about it outside of close family. Now they were threatening to drag it into the light if I didn't let Ashley off the hook. I laughed when I read that. Laughed so hard I scared my neighbor's cat through the window. They really thought they could blackmail me into silence. They had no idea who I had become. I wasn't that scared teenager anymore. I made another copy of the letter. Took it to the detective. Turns out, threatening someone during an open investigation. Real bad idea. Even dumber to put it in writing. Meanwhile, Ashley was spiraling. I found out from a mutual friend that she was kicked out of Sun Valley Pediatrics before even finishing the hiring process. Word was starting to spread among people she knew. Not because of me, I hadn't said a thing. But because karma has a way of making itself known. Then came another twist. Turns out Ashley hadn't just tried to use my name once. When the detective dug a little deeper, he found out she had also tried to open a credit card using my information 2 months earlier. Denied, thank God, but still, another nail in her coffin. And once you stack identity theft, attempted fraud, and threats, it's no longer young and dumb. It's criminal charges. The pressure must have gotten to Ashley because she tried to reach out to me. Sent me an email late one night. Long and rambling. No real apology. Just more excuses. How she was desperate for a job, how nobody would help her, how I owed it to family to forgive her. She ended it with, "You're ruining my life over nothing." Nothing. That word. The same word my brother had said when they broke my door. The same word my mom had yelled when they screamed at me for calling the police. The same word they used every time they took and broke and stole from me. And it hit me then, to them, I was nothing. I was only ever useful when they needed something. Otherwise, I was furniture. Background noise. Disposable. The realization didn't hurt. It freed me. I didn't reply. I didn't answer the calls that started coming in from different family members, cousins, great aunts, people who hadn't spoken to me in years suddenly popping up to mediate and find peace. I stayed silent. The law was moving forward now. Charges were being filed. Ashley would have to show up in court. And still, they didn't stop. My mom showed up at my work once, sitting in the lobby, red-eyed and shaking like a leaf, trying to guilt me face to face. Security had to escort her out. She screamed as they led her away, "You're dead to us." Dead. Maybe I was. But I was alive to myself for the first time in a long, long time. And it wasn't over yet. Not by a long shot. About a week after the charges were officially filed, something strange started happening. I began getting letters at my place. First, a credit card pre-approval addressed to someone named Alicia, my last name. Then a gym membership flyer. Then a letter from a payday loan company. All in names that were close to mine, but not quite. At first, I thought it was just junk mail. Then I got a notice from a car dealership thanking me for applying for financing. I hadn't applied for anything. Someone was trying to bury me under fake applications. I called the dealership. I asked for a copy of the application. And there it was, a phone number I recognized. Ashley's. She was trying to make it look like I was opening fake accounts. Maybe to mess up my credit. Maybe to make it seem like I was no better than she was. Another trip to the police. Another report filed. Another batch of evidence added to the growing pile against her. Meanwhile, my job started getting phone calls. Anonymous complaints about me. Dumb things, that I was rude to patients, that I stole medicine. All completely false. Luckily, my boss knew me and backed me up. But the writing was on the wall. They were trying to ruin me however they could. I finally had to sit down with HR and explain, in cold, painful detail, the nightmare that had become my life. My boss, bless her heart, said, "We're not letting them run you out of here. Stay strong." So I did. And while I stayed strong, my family fell apart. Through friends of friends, I heard that Ashley's court case was tearing everyone apart behind closed doors. My brother Adam lost his job after he missed too many shifts, stressed out from all the drama. Brianna and her husband were fighting because she spent all her time trying to clean up Ashley's messes. My mom had basically barricaded herself in her house, calling everyone in the family and crying about how cruel I was. They wanted a scapegoat. Someone they could blame for the consequences of their own actions. They didn't realize the only person they needed to blame was staring at them in the mirror. Then, just when I thought it couldn't get messier, another twist landed in my lap. Ashley wasn't just trying to mess with me. She was trying to cover her own tracks, because she wasn't just using my name. Turns out she had applied for jobs, credit cards, and even rental applications using random combinations of names from our extended family, cousins, uncles, people she barely even knew. When the police pulled her phone records and email logs as part of the investigation, they found dozens of fake accounts, fake profiles, and fake applications. All tied back to her. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't young and dumb. It was a whole operation. Ashley wasn't just facing a slap on the wrist anymore. She was facing real prison time. And here's the sick part, even after all of that, even facing the wall of evidence, her defense was still, family should forgive. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry she got caught. The DA offered her a plea deal if she confessed to everything, paid restitution, and agreed to probation with strict monitoring. Otherwise, they were going to push for felony charges. Ashley refused. She thought she could charm her way out of it. Thought a jury would see a sweet, misunderstood young woman and not a cold, calculating fraud. At the pretrial hearing, I saw her for the first time in months. She looked different. Gaunt. Angry. Her eyes darted everywhere except toward me. My mom sat behind her, clutching a tissue, shooting me glares that could peel paint. My brother wasn't there. Neither was my sister. They had started pulling away once they realized how serious things were getting. Rats, sinking ship. Ashley's lawyer tried to paint a sob story. Said she was pressured by financial hardship, that she panicked and made mistakes. I sat there stone-faced. No one pressured her to steal my name. No one forced her to break my door. No one made her try to destroy my life. She did all that on her own. The judge didn't seem impressed by her lawyer's speech either. He ordered a full trial. No dismissal. No slap on the wrist. As the court date loomed, the family's attacks got nastier. Anonymous online posts accusing me of being a liar. Harassment calls at work. Rumors about me being mentally unstable started floating around my professional circles. But every move they made only strengthened my resolve. I wasn't the same person who used to cry in her room after every family dinner where they mocked me. I wasn't the scared teenager who thought love meant putting up with betrayal. I was done being their victim. And the best part? I didn't even have to lift a finger anymore. The truth was doing all the work for me. Every fake application Ashley filed. Every lie my mother told. Every story they spread. It was all unraveling faster than they could tape it back together. The day before the trial, I got one last email. From my mother. No apology. No admission of guilt. Just a single sentence: if you do this, you are dead to us forever. I stared at the words for a long time. Not because they hurt. They didn't. They felt like a relief. A final confirmation that I had been right all along. Family isn't who shares your blood. It's who stands beside you when you're at your worst. They had chosen their side. And I had finally chosen mine. The courtroom was colder than I expected. The kind of cold that seeps into your bones and makes your hands shake, even when you're not nervous. Ashley sat at the defense table, arms crossed, her face set in a permanent scowl. My mother sat behind her, lips pressed so tight they had turned white. No one else from the family showed up. Not Adam. Not Brianna. Not the dozens of cousins who had texted me with their fake concern. Just Ashley and my mother, still pretending this was all some cruel trick I was pulling on them. When they called me up to testify, I walked up calmly. I told the truth. Every word. About the smashed cake, the broken door, the stolen laptop, the fake job application, the fake credit card attempts, the harassment. I had proof. Emails. Police reports. Letters. Screenshots. Ashley's lawyer tried to twist my words. Tried to make it seem like I was just bitter over a family dispute. He asked me if maybe I had exaggerated things because I was angry about missing my birthday dinner. I almost laughed right there in the witness box. No, sir. I wasn't angry about a missed dinner. I was angry about being treated like garbage by people who were supposed to love me. When Ashley got up to testify, she didn't cry. She didn't beg. She didn't even say she was sorry. She smirked. She said, "I thought she would understand. Family forgives." And when she said it, my mother nodded from the bench like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. The jury didn't buy it. They deliberated for less than 2 hours. Guilty. On multiple counts. Identity theft. Attempted fraud. Harassment. The judge wasn't gentle either. She didn't get probation. She didn't get a slap on the wrist. She got sentenced to 2 years in state prison, with mandatory restitution to me and others she had tried to scam. The sound my mother made when they read the sentence, it wasn't a sob. It was more like an animal howl. I'll never forget it. Not because it hurt. But because it felt like the sound of a kingdom collapsing. They had spent months trying to crush me. Months trying to make me the villain. And in the end, they destroyed themselves. But here's where I admit my own mistake. I had spent years trying to win their love. Years bending, folding, cutting pieces of myself away to make them comfortable. Years pretending that family first meant accepting every betrayal with a smile. I wasted so much time hoping they would change. That was on me. That's my mistake. And it's the kind of mistake you can only fix by moving forward. After the trial, I blocked every single one of them. Changed my number. Moved to a different apartment across town. Took a better job offer in another hospital. Started therapy, too. I wanted to dig up every broken piece they had buried inside me and finally throw it away. And they tried one last time. 6 months later, after Ashley had been behind bars for a little while, I got a letter. Not from her. From my mother. Handwritten, messy. She wrote that Ashley was struggling in prison. That she was scared. That it was breaking her to watch her daughter suffer. And she ended it with one final plea. If you have any love left for us, drop the charges. Help get her out. Save your family. Save your family. Like I hadn't already tried to do that my entire life. I didn't even finish the letter. I tossed it straight into the trash. No more saving people who set fire to the lifeboat. The last piece of the story. About a year later, I heard through a coworker that my mother had moved out of town. That Brianna's marriage had fallen apart. That Adam had gotten arrested for drunk driving. They had turned their backs on me. And life turned its back on them. Poetic, isn't it? Sometimes people ask me if I regret anything. If I wish things had gone differently. I tell them the truth. The only thing I regret is not standing up for myself sooner. If you're reading this and you're wondering if it's worth it, if it's worth losing family to protect your peace, let me be very clear, yes. It is. Because family isn't who breaks you. Family is who stands with you. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is walk away, and let the fire they set burn without you in it.